My name is Elena Hart. When I first saw Nathaniel Rowe, he was in a wheelchair, recovering from a complex leg surgery. I was the assigned nurse in the orthopedic recovery unit of Greenview Hospital. He wasn't the kind of man you notice right away. No charm, no fancy haircut. He wore thick glasses and barely smiled. I remember thinking, he's probably quiet and shy. But there was something about him, a stillness. He never complained. He read books, lots of them. The first thing he asked me was if I had ever read The Paper Garden. No patient had ever spoken to me like that. He didn't talk about pain or pills. He talked about thoughts, colors, silence. It caught me off guard. I was just doing my job, but something was happening, slowly, quietly. And it began with one book, left at the edge of his bed. Nathaniel never looked directly into people's eyes, but when he talked about art or poetry, his face would light up. I started spending more time near his bed, even when I wasn't assigned to him, not because of romance, at least not then. It felt like he saw the world differently. He'd say things like, "Pain makes colors brighter." I didn't always understand it, but I found myself thinking about his words long after my shifts ended. Told myself I was just being kind, just being human. One rainy afternoon, he handed me a folded paper napkin. On it, he had drawn a garden. Each flower was labeled with a word: kindness, hope, time, rest. I kept that napkin, still have it. That was the day I stopped calling him Mr. Rowe. After a few weeks, Nathaniel began walking with a cane. I saw determination in his steps, but also a quiet kind of loneliness. He had no visitors, no family calls. One day, during rounds, I asked him gently, "Is anyone coming to see you?" He looked out the window. People stop coming when you're no longer interesting. That hurt to hear. I sat beside him during lunch breaks. He told me he had been a painter before the accident. I asked, "Why did you stop painting?" He smiled faintly. "Because I forgot how to see." The more I listened, the more I saw. Not just a patient, not just a man in recovery, but someone who still carried light inside. I didn't realize it yet, but my heart was making quiet decisions. One evening, after my shift ended, I passed by his room and saw him sketching again. He looked up and said, "I've been drawing you." I laughed nervously. "Me? Why?" "Because your face reminds me of calm," he replied. He showed me the sketch. It wasn't perfect, but it felt real. That night, I stayed by the door a little longer before leaving. I wasn't supposed to. Nurses weren't supposed to feel these things. But I did. Still, I said nothing. He never said more. Our moments remained gentle, never crossing lines. But something tender had started to grow, unspoken yet deeply felt. I began bringing him his favorite tea. He started leaving small notes in folded napkins. Our connection wasn't loud, it was slow, safe, sincere. Nathaniel was discharged on a Friday morning. The room felt empty after he left. I found one last napkin note. Thank you for reminding me I still matter. I didn't expect to see him again. But 2 weeks later, I walked into the hospital cafe and saw him sitting there, king beside his chair, coffee in hand. I owe you a coffee, he smiled. We sat, we talked, and hours disappeared like minutes. That became our thing. Weekend coffees, slow walks in parks, quiet museum visits. We never labeled it. We just kept showing up for each other. He wasn't romantic in the usual sense, but he noticed everything. When I changed my earrings, when I looked tired, when I was quiet, and slowly I noticed I was falling. The first time he met my parents, my mother whispered, "He seems gentle." She wasn't wrong. He had a softness the world rarely celebrates. Our relationship grew in silence, not in spectacle. There were no big declarations, just consistency. He started painting again. I became his favorite subject. "Not because you're beautiful," he said, "but because you carry stillness." I had never felt so seen. We didn't rush marriage. We talked about books, parenting, values. He wanted a life of quiet joy, and I wanted that too. We agreed love was not about fireworks, but warm lights that never go out. The day he proposed, it was with a pencil sketch, not a ring. I said yes before he finished drawing. Our wedding was small. Backyard, close friends, homemade food, his artwork hanging on trees. He whispered, "Thank you for nursing me back to life." Years passed. We had 2 children, Micah and Alina. He painted their dreams. I read them bedtime poems. Our house always smelled like books and tea. Nathaniel never went back to full-time work, but he started teaching art therapy to children. I kept nursing, part-time, choosing shifts that let me be with the kids more. Every anniversary, he gave me a napkin note. Every single one, and I kept each of them. We faced challenges. Micah had trouble with speech early on. Alina struggled with focus in school. But Nathaniel was the calm in every storm. He taught them to express through color. I taught them through care. Our family wasn't perfect, but it was whole. Sometimes I would think back to that first hospital day. If I had just walked past his bed, if I had judged him by appearances, I would have missed everything. Love doesn't always come with music and spotlight. Sometimes it arrives in wheelchairs with sketchbooks and paper napkins. On our 10th anniversary, Nathaniel gave me a framed painting, a garden of napkin notes. Each flower held a memory: the tea, the walk, the silence, the sketch. He said, "This is what you grew inside me." I stood there, realizing I had once been assigned to heal him, but in truth, he healed something in me too, the part that stopped believing in quiet love. I wasn't just his nurse. I had become his calm, his partner, his home. Today, I'm still called Nurse Alina at the clinic, but at home, I'm just Mom or Love. Nathaniel still leaves sketches on the fridge. Our kids still color outside the lines, and I still read poetry at night. We built a life on gentle moments, on empathy, on second chances. This wasn't a love story born in a movie. It was born in real rooms with real people and real healing. Yes, I was his nurse. Now I am his forever.